People say that life is about the journey and not the destination. And for us at Tele2, then of course it's all about the IoT journey. But of course also the destination of our customers, which is most likely to deploy and operate a successful IoT solution. And IoT and this journey is made up by a lot of moving parts. And there's not one secret formula or one way of doing it correctly. It all depends on the prerequisites you have in your business. IoT can help you differentiate on the market. It can help you be more efficient in your operation. Or it can actually help you launch new services on the market. Whether you are new to this and you're starting, or you have done it for a long time, navigating the IoT journey is important, and taking the learnings and making sure you make the best use of them. But here to discuss this today then, we have 3 customers, as we said. So let me quickly introduce them. We have Mikael Malberg from Candella Speedboats. We have Erika Hedblom, manager at Centus's Intelligent Tube System at Sandvik. And we have Mats Berglind, the Digital Innovation Manager at Swedavia. Warm welcome, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's start with you, Mikael. Candella Speedboats. I don't think all people really know what that is. So let's just start with understanding what is your company doing, and also how are they using, or how are you using IoT in this?
Yeah. So Candella Speedboat, we're a boat maker from Stockholm, and we make the first electric hydrofoil boat. So it flies above the water at high speeds, thanks to a hydrofoil, which is a wing that is flying under the surface of the water. So the water, the wing is in the water, and then you have the whole boat flying above all the friction from the water. So
a merge between an airplane and a boat.
Pretty much, yeah. It's actually more like an airplane than a boat. And why do we do this? Well, we want to reduce the energy consumption. So we reduce it by flying over the water, and then we get a really long range at battery power.
Fascinating.
And we have a lot of hardware and software inside the boat to make it fly, because it's just like a modern jet fighter. It's unstable, so we need software to balance it, and sensors. So we, thanks to a lot of sensors and the computers, we move the wing about 100 times per second in order to stabilize the boat. Oh. So, and the upside of this pretty complex system that took 5 years of R&D is that you get a super stable boat in almost all conditions, at least on the Baltic Sea. So you can go in rough weather, in side winds, without the boat leaning to one side or rolling.
And so it's a lot of computers, a lot of systems and software. And how are you using IoT? What's the use of the connection?
Yeah, obviously the boat is connected, and then we log almost everything that happens to the boat. If there's a faulty sensor, or if the boat encounters a rough wave or whatever. So we can troubleshoot the boat remotely, and we can also upgrade it remotely, just like a modern car. Yeah. And that saves a lot of time and money for our customers and for us.
Yeah, fascinating. So doing this, and so you've developed basically a new kind of boat, and also you've included an IoT and the connectivity into that. How much learnings were you able to take from other industries or other businesses in order to make sure that you're doing this IoT part in the best possible way?
Yeah, obviously we looked at the car industry, which is being changed at the moment by Tesla mostly, with the connected cars that they make. So we took that playbook and applied it on boats, and that saves us a lot of time. I mean, we have 17 boats at the moment flying in 3 different continents and 6 countries.
Already a global business.
Yeah, it's a small but global business, and I mean we can't have service centers in all these countries, so we can fix a lot of stuff remotely if something happens. For example, I mean, it's a pretty complex product. Yeah. We had one customer that actually couldn't take off a couple of weeks ago with his boat. Okay. So he phoned into the factory. He was 1,500 kilometers away, but he phoned in, and one of our service technicians could access his boat and see that the foil, the main wing, was actually locked in position. It was just a faulty sensor reading.
Okay.
So he just basically said to our customer, it's good to go. And it took off 5 minutes after he phoned into the factory. And if you hadn't had a connected boat in this instance, you would have needed to visit a service center. That would have taken 4 weeks to fix it.
Exactly, or for you to go to the boat.
Yeah.
It's also almost impossible.
So IoT is crucial for our business.
Talk about customer experience and
sure.
making that fly.
Yeah.
So where would you say on this IoT journey with thinking what to do, starting small and scaling up, where would you say that you are at the moment?
I mean, we're obviously scaling up our business, and we started out with a connected product. It was designed from the first place. So I would say that we're at the start of our journey, but
you've done the big thinking.
We've done the big thinking. Now we just have to implement everything else.
Perfect. Thank you. Erika, I understand that you've been working for Sandvik for 20 years, and Sandvik is a company that's been around for a long time, 158 years if I'm correct. A lot has happened during this time, of course, and now you have started doing IoT in different ways. Where would you say that at Sandvik is on this IoT journey?
Well, Sandvik is actually divided into 3 parts. Materials technology, where I'm working.
Yes.
And we have one part that's in the mining industry, and we also have one part that makes cutting tools.
Okay.
And the mining industry, they've been like doing automated mining systems for like 15 years, or maybe more than that.
Quite sure. Yeah.
But when it comes to my part of Sandvik, that makes steel, we're not that far ahead. We have a connected production. And been working with that for quite some years. But when it comes to an actual digital product offering, we're just in the beginning. We have done the thinking, and we have started piloting. So we have a few pilot systems out there. Okay. So that's like where we are right now.
So this Centus's intelligent tube systems, please explain a little bit. What is it really?
Centus's is a digital material monitoring system.
Okay.
So the core of the system is an intelligent tube, which is an invention that we made like 5 years ago. Okay. It's a tube where you can incorporate sensors in the wall of the tube, which makes it possible to put sensors in places where the environment is very harsh. So we have examples where we have sensors now. It's been in there for a year, and before, if you put a sensor on top of the tube, it lasted for like 8 minutes.
Okay.
So we get the customers the possibility to measure where it hasn't been possible to measure before, and to control their operations in a much better way, because you can get data from other places. But what we also do, since it is an IT system, we can also help the customer to interpret the data, which makes it possible to use this system for sort of finding out how does my tube feel in operations. How long do I have left? When do I need to change it?
All about getting the customer's operation and their business to run as stable as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how would you say, how easy or difficult is it for a company, a large company like Sandvik, to start using this new kind of technologies?
Sandvik has always been an innovative company. Actually, our founder put the strategy that we should work with customer-focused innovation. Okay. That's like more than 150 years ago. Yeah, exactly. And we still do that. But doing like an IoT system compared to making a steel, it's a completely different thing. So it's not always that easy. Oh. You have to work both with convincing customers and convincing your sort of peers inside the company.
Yeah. It's a new way of working that is needed, not only a new technology that should be introduced.
Exactly.
Interesting. And Mats, coming from Swedavia, you have your own little city to manage, where I know that you can do a lot of things by digitalizing the business, and there are a lot of possibilities basically in your business. Yeah. Where would you say that Swedavia is on this IoT journey?
Well, I would say we are in the scale up as well. We have a lot of IoT in place, both new and old. And the old is obviously elevators and escalators and such.
Yeah.
But the new ones, for example, we have IoT in our soap dispensers in the restrooms.
Yeah.
Not only soaps, but hand towels and such, in order to see when, obviously, it needs to be filled, but also to kind of measure how many people has been in there, so we can do some extra cleaning, for example. Yeah. And what we're doing right now when it comes to the IoT journey is trying to connect all of this together to make it easier for us to connect more sensors, maybe do it as much wireless as possible. So of course that infrastructure needs to be set in place, or at least complemented to what we already have. So 5G we're looking forward to, but we're looking for other things like Zigbee. How would that be something that we need to have in the future? And obviously existing 4G and 3G connections. But other things also like mesh networks and such, because if we're going to have not only our IoT, but maybe our passengers' IoT and our partners' IoT in a network, how will we do that in a safe, scalable, and operational way? Because not only is it about getting the first product in place or the first sensor in place, it has to work over time. And you need to maintain it. Yep. And before you know it, that data becomes critical for operations. So we have to have reliable data that comes in through this. So all of that, we have come to the conclusion that obviously this is of interest for us. We start to rely on the data, and now we're trying to see how do we go about this in a way that makes it faster and easier and more safe for us, secure.
The airport is really about, it's a logistic system of its own, making sure that everything is up and running, but also predicting how much movement and how much action that is going on the different parts. Exactly. So I guess getting all that data and doing something useful is quite a big thing.
Exactly. For example, for us, it's not only to understand what happens in real time, but also to be able to foresee things. Yeah. And that's often based upon real-time data, because you need a lot of data in order to do the machine learning stuff. Okay. For us, for example, it's very important to do schedules, because user experience rely heavily upon that there are people there to help create the user experience. Okay. So if we can predict that there are going to be many flights or something else that will affect the normal day operations, that we can put in more people, of course, then we can use the real-time data to actually do something about it. If we have too few people, not scheduled, then we know about it, but we can't do anything about it. So it's bad user experience both for us and for our passengers. Yeah. So it's not only about real time, but also to get the machine learning algorithms in place to do the foresight and understand what's going to happen. And
also they're about then improving the experience of the customers or the passengers.
And the follow-ups around that.
Exactly.
And such, yeah.
So in your industry then, working with airports, how do you find inspirations on what to do? Because there are, I guess, the small things and the big things that you can do. And is there any special industry that you can take inspiration from, or are there airports that have come much further than we have done here in Sweden?
For sure. Agriculture, for example, and mining. I just thought about that. Okay. Because we have our first remote-controlled PSBs, and the PSDs plow, sweep, and blow. Those are the ones that clear the runway from snow.
All right.
We have the first remote control. They just arrived a couple of months ago that we're going to put in production. And not only are they remote controlled as the trucks in the mines, so we can actually do the sweeping in formation without drivers, much safer than we can do today and much faster. But also what we do at the end, coming from agriculture, is that we spray chemical that lowers the freezing temperature.
To avoid the ice.
And that spreader that's at the end of the long truck, it comes from agriculture and fertilizing. So it spreads just enough. So we keep the environment safe as well and just spread enough chemicals for the operation to continue.
Optimize the usage and make sure that you don't overuse.
Exactly. So that's from other industries, just examples. And of course other airports as well. It's kind of hard to compare yourself to Dubai or Singapore where they have another budget.
They do.
Than we do. But we have a lot of cooperation and inspiration coming from other European airports such as Heathrow, Gatwick, Zurich and such, München as well. So we have a lot of cooperation and partnership together with those airports and get inspiration there from there.
Getting it a little bit from different industries and different airports. So
for sure,
picking the good pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Mikael, coming back a little bit. So you have a fascinating product, and I've seen it a couple of times before on video, I must say, not in real life. But this is quite a new product that you're bringing on the market in an industry that is very old. It's been around for hundreds or perhaps thousands of years.
Yeah, you can say it's pretty mature, yeah.
So how has it been received coming with something totally new on the market? Is it met with skepticism or with enthusiasm?
Not really. We're pretty much sold out for next year, or at least until the spring.
Hey, all right.
So it's been received remarkably well.
Okay.
And we believe that most buyers are not the traditional boaters, really. They're mostly Tesla owners. And they like the fact that this boat is superior to the fossil fuel boats in many respects, such as seakeeping, stability, and that's what they're used to when they're driving their Teslas.
All right.
That they can beat the fossil fuel competition.
Exactly.
Sort of. Exactly. And also, I would say that the whole business has been pretty enthusiastic. We even had some interest from bigger yacht makers. That would like to collaborate and put this technology into bigger yachts, because it's scalable up to 60 meters. So you can make a bigger ferry actually able to fly. Yeah. So yeah.
So it might not only be your own product, but that you can also start selling or using the technology in cooperation with other companies as well.
Yeah, one way forward could be to be an OEM to the shipbuilding industry, for example. So that's something we're looking into at the moment.
Some big visions for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. But glad to hear that the response has been good, and I'm quite convinced that as well as in the automotive industry, of course, avoiding these fossil fuels will be the way forward. But then looking at your business, Erika, that is really it's industry heavy. It's a lot of legacy somehow built up, both in your own world, but also the customers. How is your system being received by the customers?
It's very positive actually from the beginning,
okay.
but we do also have the challenge of changing the perspective of what Sandvik is as a company in this industry.
Okay.
We're not just a materials technology company anymore. Now we're also an IT company that can provide digital products. So that's of course a bit of a work. But it's very positive, very much curiosity, a lot of questions like how can I use this system? Can I put it in this superheater in my boiler? Or so that's of course very good for us that we get that. Yeah.
I have a question there.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you consider changing your business model based on that you're now an IT company and maybe can get paid in another way than just to sell steel?
Yes, of course. Part of this IoT journey that we're doing now, it's because we want to sell more services. So we are changing the business model with this product. It's sort of the purpose of the product. Yeah.
But I guess the sale cycle is also quite long. It takes time for a customer to implement.
It does. So if I talked with a customer today, and they say, yeah, I want to implement this. The next stop they have is probably in a year.
Yes.
So it will it takes some years before we have a really sort of the takeoff is it's a bit ahead.
Exactly, and you need to be a bit patient in order to exactly wait for the results. And then looking, like we talked about a little bit, what advice would you have for a company that has their ongoing steady business that has not connected? What do they need to think and look for when they want to start digitalizing and adding a new business model or a new service on top of their existing things? Do you have some advice what they...
Yeah, I think they should focus on the T of the IoT.
T of IoT?
Yeah, focus on the things. Yeah. I think in the sort of early days of IoT was pretty common that the management saw this, was very curious. Yeah, we need to do this. So they threw in a bunch of IT guys who went in and put sensors everywhere and then thought they could get a cool AI system to sort of connect the dots. Sometimes it might make work, but I think it's rarely that it actually works. So focus on the things. What is your core business? What is the knowledge that I can provide to my customers? And use the IoT as sort of a vehicle to get this as a service to the customers.
And it reflects back to, set your vision, what this is that you really want to do before you start doing it, not the other way around.
Exactly.
All right. And Mats, if I say that 2020 has been a bit of a different year for Swedavia, I don't think I'm over-exaggerating too much. It's been a challenge.
Sure.
But from this perspective, in terms of running your projects and doing the innovation that you're doing on a daily basis, have you been able to progress with your work, or has it basically been forced to stop?
It hasn't stopped. It's not progressing in the way we want it, or we perceived it in the beginning of the year.
You hoped for it?
But for sure, we're doing that and talking to our partners as well to see if we can get the right connectivity, for example, with you guys, and talking with other partners in order to see if we can still do trials, tests, and going forward, but maybe in another way. And of course, the focus has also changed a little bit. Now we're talking a lot about touchless airports, and all of the kiosks we have, and all the things that you need to interact with at an airport, and so that has kind of changed the way, but I think it also has changed it in a good way. So it might even, make the progress go faster after this, because we have been talking about being more prepared as a passenger before you come to the airport. And what we want for the future is that you can be really, already prepared for all your travel before you come to the airport. So the only thing you do at the airport is you go to the flight. So you can do the passport scanning at home. You can do, obviously, the boarding pass. You only can do that. In the future, maybe there will be permanent bag tags, so you don't have to print out the bag tag. Maybe it's just the RFID in the bag or something like that. So that goes hand in hand with the touchless discussions we have right now, and I'm very hopeful and see bright on the future on that, and hopefully that will be a better user experience for all our passengers in the years to come as well.
All right, perfect. And any other areas, if you would look ahead then the things that you're doing, and any other areas that you see that from an airport perspective that you think will be automated or drastically change somehow in the coming 10 years through the help of digitalization?
Since we can't use as many people, we are having layoffs right now, and we need to do the operations with less people. We have to think about a lot of things done differently, and automation is, of course, a big part of that. And I usually say that if we don't have some kind of user experience or value in a process, maybe that should be automated in some way. For example, baggage handling and such. So we are definitely need to look into that, also based on what happened this year.
Yeah.
In a pandemic
it has
world.
changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
But there's a lot of things that can be and will be automated and also connected. And by getting things connected, we learn more things. For example, we did a really cool study now because we have the Q measurement, sorry, the Q measurement sensors that we can see in real time how long the queues are, so we can publish the queue time. But from that same system, we can also see how many people are in a certain zone in our airport. And based on that, we can steer our climate control systems, which means we can save energy when people are not there.
Exactly.
And we can actually create a better climate when people are there. So based on trials together with one of our partners, we know for sure that we can save 20 to 30% of energy, but on this, but create a better climate. And climate is obviously less carbon dioxide in the air, and also a heat and stuff like that. So that is
good customer
really
experience. Cool. It's good for economy and it's good for the environment. So it's a lot of wins in that.
A lot of cool things from IoT data.
Yeah, absolutely. In a company like yours, Erika, how much is innovation part of the agenda? You said that your founders were very early to say that you were going to be customer innovative. The things that is happening now, Industry 4.0, the whole digitalization we're talking about, has that changed the way you focus on innovation, or is it a driver in your everyday?
Yeah, of course, it's changed a lot. As I said, we are an innovative company, and Sandviken is the town in Sweden that has the most number of patents per inhabitant, actually. But we're very good at inventing new materials. We know exactly how to sort of do a new steel, like the process for it. But an IT system, that's something completely different. It's like a different animal. So we need to adapt the way of working quite a lot. So we have been looking a lot at like what are they doing in like Silicon Valley, small startups, and try to adapt that way of working a bit more.
Successfully?
We'll see.
We'll see.
So far, yes.
Good to hear. And Mikael, to round it off a little bit, if I would have a startup and I would like to make my offer connected and make sure that it's digital, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Yeah, that's a good and very broad question. So I'll say obviously you have to focus on where you can save money and time for the clients. That's what we're doing with Candella. You don't have to visit the service center or the factory in order to fix something on your boat or have it updated. So can you apply this in any other sector or business? That's surely a win-win.
So basically, where is the customer value? What is really the customer value of this? And have that as the driving starting point. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a great discussion, really interesting to hear of your different challenges and the things that you have done. If some of the viewers would like to get in connection with you, how would they do that?
Look at the site.
Candella, the site. I guess you are all on LinkedIn as well?
LinkedIn is a good way.
LinkedIn is
a great way.
Perfect.
Or a coffee at Arlanda.
Coffee at Arlanda, where you will meet Mats for a quick chat.
For sure.
All right, good. Thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure.